Welcome to this edition of Just the Truth. Glad to have you join me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio to lose weight for the last time. Visit myphdweightloss.com. Boy, did sparks fly in Fulton County, Georgia yesterday when embattled Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis took the stand to testify against allegations that she had a improper affair with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade, whom she had hired and paid a lot of money to. Allegedly. We got all the details for you in just a moment. No charges have yet been filed regarding the mass shooting in Kansas City, Missouri this week, though police have detained multiple suspects and an illegal immigrant who remained the sole suspect locked up in a New York City jail following the brutal attack on a pair of NYPD officers by several illegals last month, was released this week amid criticism that he was the only suspect still in custody over the beatdown, according to jail records. And mass burglars broke into a South Carolina home and stole French bulldogs worth an estimated $37,000, according to the police reports. You can join today's conversation via the Furman 4 text line. Your comments are welcome. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Voice messages are welcome, as are your emails, joey@joeyhudson.com.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
You have contacts with Mr. Wade in 2020, and your answer so far has been yes, correct?
Very limited contact because Mr. Wade had a form of cancer that makes your allegations somewhat ridiculous.
I do appreciate the
I'm not
characterization.
going to emasculate a black man, but I'm just telling you.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm not going to emasculate a black man. I very much want to be here, so I'm not a hostile witness. I very much want to be
Not
here.
so much that you're hostile, Miss Willis, it'd be an adverse witness. Your interests are opposed to Miss Merchant's.
Miss Merchant's interests are contrary to democracy, Your Honor, not to mine.
So you have no proof of any reimbursement for any of these things because it was all cash, right?
The testimony of one witness is enough to prove a fact.
So my
Are you
question was,
telling
do
me
you
that
have
I'm
any
lying to you?
proof?
Is that what you're intimating right here?
I'm asking if you have any proof that you paid him any of these
The
monies.
proof is what I just told you.
All right.
And at my
Okay,
home
I
in
think we're gonna
South
clarify
Fulton,
this. We'll break it
he never came there, okay? So if you don't come someplace, you can't live there.
Miss Willis, I'm going to have to caution you. This is going to be the first time I have to caution you. We have to listen to the questions as asked. And if this happens again and again, I'm going to have no choice but to strike your testimony. So, we need to break this down. Ms. Merchant's question, I believe, was asking whether you lived anywhere other than South Fulton.
I did not live anywhere but South Fulton, Georgia in 2020. So but there's been more see, what you don't understand is because of this case, I got to move. And so I
Ms.
need
Merchant,
to...
if you could ask a more precise question.
Yes, please, give me the time period. that we're
Mr.
talking
Wade visits you at the place you laid your head.
about. When?
Has he ever visited you at the place you laid your head?
So let's be clear, because you lied in this. Let me tell you which one you lied in. Right here. I think you lied right here. No. This is the truth,
Judge,
And
this
it is a lie. It is a lie.
Ms. Willis?
You see.
Mr. Sena, thank you. We're going to take 5 minutes.
Wow. Sparks flew in Fulton County, Georgia, in the courtroom yesterday. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis on the hot seat as she took the stand to testify against the allegations of her improper affair with Nathan Wade, the special prosecutor whom she hired. This could, of course, derail the case against former President Trump. One of the points you just heard was when Willis was asked by a Trump attorney, Ashley Merchant, in a very heated moment, if she had any proof that she had reimbursed Wade for vacations because the payments were in cash. Now, according to Willis, they had been on these vacations together. According to Willis, she reimbursed Mr. Wade for the trip, but she paid it in cash, so she can't prove it. Convenient, right? This was when Willis really got animated. She said, the testimony of one witness is enough to prove a fact. Are you telling me I'm lying, she said. I'm asking you if you have any proof, the lawyer responded, and Willis shot back. The proof is what I just told you. She's very defiant, very matter of fact. You also heard a situation when it became so heated at one point there at the end that the judge issued multiple warnings to Willis, finally just took a recess. At one point, Willis picks up a pile of paper, holding the paper in her hand, kind of swinging animatedly the paper, saying, let's be clear here, you lied. She's accusing the attorneys of lying against her. She said, right here, you lied right here, holding up the papers. She said, it's a lie. It's a lie. And that's when the judge called for a 5-minute recess. Willis hired Mr. Wade in 2021 to help her prosecute her very broad racketeering case against Donald Trump. I believe it's just a publicity stunt. I don't think that that she will ever prove anything, any wrongdoing against Donald Trump. His co-defendant, Michael Roman, alleged in court filings last month that Ms. Willis should be disqualified from the case, claiming she financially benefited from hiring Wade because of their personal relationship. Wade took the stand earlier in the hearing. Craig Gillen, attorney for Trump co-defendant David Schaefer, who also asked the court to disqualify Ms. Willis, questioned Wade earlier about Willis's repayments to him for vacations that were made in cash. The defense is trying to prove the existence and extent of any financial benefit to Willis from Mr. Wade from their relationship, which is the crux of their argument that Willis should be disqualified. I mean, it makes sense. She hires her boyfriend. She pays him cash. There's a reported amount of $300,000 that was paid to Mr. Wade. Now, he had an explanation for that. I'll get to that in just a moment. Wade said he doesn't recall the travel with Willis in 2021, the time that he was hired by the DA's office, but does remember traveling with her in 2022 and 2023. He testified that his relationship with Willis started in March of 2022 and that their trips together began in 2022 as well. Mr. Wade testified that Willis paid him back for her half of the shared trips. Of course she did. Of course she paid him back. Can it get any more unbelievable of this lady? And just listening to her, watching her on the stand yesterday, seeing her attitude, she was defiant, even to the judge. It was like she's above reproach. She can't be questioned. This is what you get when you put people like Fani Willis in these types of positions. She should be disbarred, not only disqualified from the Trump case. She should be disbarred. Wade also testified that he was not paid by Fulton County as much as the defense claims. He says in 2022, specifically, that Fulton County paid roughly $300,000 to his law firm, but Mr. Wade says he received only about $100,000 of it because some of the payments were dispersed to 3 other people in his firm. I think he's missing the point, don't you? The point is, he and his law firm benefited by being paid by the county when they were hired and contracted by his girlfriend. His testimony contradicts earlier revelations from a former, quote, good friend of Miss Willis who testified Thursday. She has no doubt that Willis and Wade had a romantic relationship. She says it started in 2019, contradicting Miss Willis's prior statements to the court. The court adjourned yesterday afternoon around 5. Ms. Willis is expected back to continue her testimony today. Be sure and tune in. No charges have yet been filed regarding the mass shooting in Kansas City, Missouri on Wednesday, though police have detained a couple of suspects. I'll give you the details on that in just a moment. First, let me talk with you about my journey with PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. It started just over 3 years ago. I lost 30 pounds pretty quickly, and I've been able to maintain that weight loss for over 3 years now. If you want to get healthy, if 2024 is the year that you resolve to get healthy, to lose that excess visceral fat that's around your waist, that's so dangerous, then let me encourage you to call PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, 864-252-4925. Let me introduce you to Dr. Ashley Lucas. She and her team can help you lose weight just like they helped me. And I promise you, this is a phone call you will never regret. 864-252-4925. Give them a call today. Set up your appointment and see if this is the program for you. I think you'll be glad that you made that phone call. And in a matter of weeks, you too can be talking about losing 10, 20, 30 pounds or more. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. Find them online at myphdweightloss.com. They're the official partner of the Clemson Tigers. So Kansas City Police Chief Stacey Graves held a news conference yesterday to update the press on the ongoing investigation, announcing that prosecutors were still working on bringing charges.
Do you have arrests? Because it's my understanding you can only hold these folks for so long.
Correct.
Charge them. Have you charged them yet?
We have not charged them yet. This is still under investigation. We do have 24 hours until we have to either file charges or release them. And again, we are working closely with the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office to present the most successful case for prosecution.
Is there issues with linking them to the actual shooting? Do you have enough evidence at this point to make
So some of those questions I'm not able to give a direct answer just because I want to protect the integrity of this investigation. My focus right now and what is most important to us is to make sure that everything in this case is presented for successful prosecution. So some of those questions, I'm hesitant.
This all started, of course, when gunshots rang out during the Chiefs Victory Parade near Union Station parking garage in Kansas City, killing one woman, injuring at least 22 others. The woman has been identified as Lisa Lopez Galvin, a mother of two and local radio DJ. 11 children were also wounded during the shooting. They're expected to recover. 9 of them were shot, while 2 sustained other injuries during the incident. During a news conference yesterday, doctors with University Health said that of the 8 gunshot victims that they had received, 5 of those were dismissed from the emergency department, while 3 were still in the hospital. 1 patient in stable condition, 2 others are in critical condition in ICU, but were said to be improving. Executive Chief Clinical Officer Dr. Mark Steele described the first patient's condition as very lethal, saying most people that are injured as gravely as he was do not survive. Dr. Steele said, had he not made it here as fast as he had, he might not be here with us now. Dr. Steele said he had improved overnight despite the life-threatening injuries. Kansas City Police told the media that there are 2 juveniles currently in custody. A 3rd juvenile was determined not to be involved and was released. Investigators are now working with juvenile prosecutors to review investigative findings to determine charges, according to local officials. Authorities said the relationship between the subjects involved is still under investigation, but there's no evidence of links to terrorism. Graves said, first and foremost, I want to stress that preliminary investigative findings have shown there was no nexus to terrorism or homegrown violent extremism. Authorities also noted that despite initial reports speculating that the gunfire was erupting in multiple locations, it's no longer the belief of investigators, and the violence was mostly contained to that one side of Union Station. 864-477-5639 is the Furman Ford text line. Love to get your comments. You can leave me a voice message there. You can also email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. An illegal migrant who remained the sole suspect locked up in a New York City jail following the brutal attack on the pair of NYPD officers that we have watched the video, seen the video over and over the past month, was released this week amid criticism that he was the only suspect still in custody over this beatdown. This according to jail records. I'll give you the details in just a moment. Furman Ford in Lawrence is your local Ford dealer. And what I love about Furman Ford, their name is on the sign because their name is on the line. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman, they take the idea of serving their community seriously. And I love the fact that this is a family-owned local business that we need to support. Corporations have never been more powerful. The new technologies like AI are changing the game even more. This is why we need to support local businesses run by people right here in our community. Because when you drive off of the lot, either with a new car or a great pre-owned vehicle, or maybe you go take yours in for service, when you leave that lot, you know that the money that you have spent, the money that you left behind, stays right in our community in Lawrence. Furman Ford. Find them online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. Yohenry Brito, 24 years old, was released this week after posting an unspecified amount of bail following his January 31st arrest. Now, Brito is a Venezuelan illegal. He's one of 7 illegals charged in the January 27th attack on an NYPD lieutenant and a police officer in Times Square. We saw this. The video is gruesome. It's been played over and over, been circulated on social media. The altercation was captured on a surveillance video and quickly went viral. Following the arrest of several suspects, Brito was the only one held as the rest were released without bail, prompting sharp criticism of Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office. This week, the DA's office told the media that 3 suspects had been arrested in the Bronx. The trio was nabbed inside an apartment and included Wilton Juarez, Kevin Servita Aroca, both of whom were previously arrested in the case involving the 2 NYPD officers. The DA's office say that Juarez and Aroca were in ICE custody and were due back in court sometime today. The pair had not fled to California on a bus, which is contrary to some initial news reports. The third suspect in the Tuesday's arrest has not been named yet. Darwin Gomez Ezekiel, 19 years old, was also wanted in relationship to the attack, is also back in custody, according to local authorities. The police say that he's wanted on charges of robbery and petty larceny. He and 3 other suspects who remain at large are accused of making off with about $600 worth of assorted clothing that they stole from a Macy's department store in the Queens Center Mall. I mean, these people, these illegals, they're just ransacking cities across America. This is not unique to New York. This is not because it's a big city. The Manhattan's DA's office said that a 5th suspect is also in custody. The alleged attack on the police officer, and I'm reading this from an AP report. The alleged attack on the police officer. You can see the attack in the video. It's very clear. They kicked this police officer when he was lying on the ground. But we'll stick with the alleged attack, I guess. Video footage captured some of the suspects punching and kicking the officers while people stood there and watched. It's the attack has drawn widespread condemnation and was followed by Juan Boda, 22, flipping 2 middle fingers at reporters' cameras on February the 1st as he was released from police custody. As long as you allow these people to do this, rather than putting them on the first bus back to across the border, you just turn them loose on the streets of New York, they'll keep doing this. Word gets out fast that you can treat police officers like this. You can kick police officers in the head, in the stomach, lying on the ground in New York City, and you might be held for a day or two in jail. Then you're released. And you think that these people are going to turn back up again? They're going to return for their court date? On the 414 text line, Christy says, speaking of that term, God doesn't put more on you than you can handle. It's true, she says. Sometimes I think God has way more confidence in me than I do, though. I get that, Christy. I understand. Pete writes, hey, Joey, regarding the boogeyman George Soros, and this is in reference to, I told you about the fact that an investment fund that is owned by George Soros, controlled by George Soros, has purchased pretty much a 40% share of the debt of media company Odyssey, which owns a couple hundred radio stations around the country, including some conservative talk stations. Pete says, if he was such a threat, why doesn't a conservative state attorney general go after him for funding the chaos he has funded with radical groups? Why didn't Bill Barr or Jeff Sessions go after him when they were the attorney general? I've heard of this guy for years, and all the conservatives do is wring their hands and complain. I would think that if the conservatives got smart, they would go after him, so it's a death by 1,000 paper cuts like the libs do to conservatives. I get what you're saying, Pete, and I sense your frustration. I share that frustration. The problem is George Soros does things within the law. The purchase of 40% of the debt of Odyssey, who is in bankruptcy, is legal. I mean, that's what he does. He's a billionaire because he has successfully invested in companies over the years. He has successfully invested in companies like what he's doing with Odyssey. Odyssey filed for bankruptcy back in early January. According to what I've read, Soros, just in the last few weeks, has been purchasing some of the debt. When Odyssey comes out of bankruptcy, their stockholders, basically, the stock will be worth zero. And the creditors will then have control of the company. It's just the way things work. If you're a stockholder in Odyssey, that stock certificate is going to be worthless when they reach their final resolution with the bankruptcy court. George Soros knows that. He's done this before, not just with media companies. So he's purchasing the debt, which takes priority over the stock, and he's going to end up owning about 40%, a 40% stake in the company, according to the reports. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing illegal about it. Again, Pete, I get your frustration, though, and it's scary. It's scary to know that he's buying or wanting to get control of a company that owns conservative talk radio stations. That's something that we need to take notice of. Susan says, I wonder what George Soros is going to do to the format at WORD 98.9 once he buys it. I'm running low on radio stations I care to listen to due to format changes done by their new ownership. I'm thankful for my phone apps so I can listen to your podcast and watch Mike Gallagher show since Salem sold WGTK. Thank you, Susan, for continuing to listen to the Mike Gallagher show. You can go to mikeonline.com. You can also download the Salem News Channel app like Susan's referencing and continue to watch Mike Gallagher, Charlie Kirk, Dennis Prager, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, Officer Brandon Tatum. And I hope you, obviously, if you're listening, you are listening to my podcast, I hope you'll let other friends and neighbors and church friends know about the podcast. I appreciate you joining me on this platform. Our God truth of the day, and this is what we're calling it now, is a God truth, because we're all about the truth here on Just the Truth. Our scripture, our encouragement of the day, from 2 Peter. May grace and peace be multiplied to you in the knowledge of God and of Jesus our Lord. This is a short Bible study from The God Shot, written by Tara Lee Cobble. We've been doing some of these this week because you may recall that over the years, I will often share with you a email of encouragement. And it's quite often scripture, it's something positive, encouraging, and it comes from a listener who's been doing this for years now. And last week we stopped getting those. So I text the listener, don't know who it is, other than just a phone number, and ask about them because I was concerned. Unfortunately, they've been ill and said that, and I don't know if it's a male or a female. So he or she said that they had been in ICU, being treated, and hope to be back soon. And I hope they are too. And I ask you then, and I ask you again, to pray for them, pray for their healing. So the grace of God, not long before he died, Peter wrote this letter that we find in 2 Peter. He was probably a prisoner in Rome. The letters to Christians who were facing persecution and possibly even martyrdom. It was a different time back then. In the introduction to his letter, he points us to one of the themes that he repeatedly addresses: the ways God's grace shows up in our lives. Now, I love what Tara Lee Cobble, how she writes about this in biblical terms. Grace, she says, is when God blesses us with something we don't deserve. In modern times, the word is often conflated with forgiveness or acquittal, and people use it to signal that we aren't held responsible for our sins. Grace is often confused, she says, with mercy, which is when God doesn't give us the punishment we deserve. However, grace is altogether different. She writes, grace isn't an excuse to sin. Grace is forward-moving. It's God's work in our lives as an agent of change, calling us beyond where we are. It equips us to grow. Charles Spurgeon said it this way: grace is the mother and nurse of holiness and not the apologist of sin. Peter says that the more we know God, the more we'll know his grace and feel his peace. So some questions for you to ponder today. Where do you lack peace today? Where do you need his grace to empower change that you feel you need to make? Draw near to him to know here's where the joy is. 864-477-5639, the Furman Ford text line. Love to get your comments. Your emails are always welcome. joey@joeyhudson.com from the email inbox. This is from Henry. Guys, the left's attack on another stage, this is not good news. The intentional plan, conspired muzzling of a conservative voice or voices, it's a force to reckon with. Now, he's talking about the story of George Soros. He says Pelosi spoke of it years ago when Rush was here, or am I misreading this? The Greenville upstate South Carolina market has lost 2 radio stations in 2023 to different ownership, perhaps for other reasons. Now, 98.9 WORD, a powerhouse, is now in jeopardy. Bottom line, Soros is taking such a percent interest does not bode well. I don't need to tell you that. And I'm just telling y'all what I think. Good evening. Hope you have a good weekend. Thank you, Henry. Appreciate your email. Yours is welcome. Joey@joeyhudson.com. Masked burglars, we are told, broke into a South Carolina home and stole French bulldogs worth an estimated $37,000. Now, if you're not familiar with French bulldogs, they're very valuable, obviously. My nephews have French bulldogs. They love their little Frenchies, but they are expensive. Before I get into that, let me talk with you about Discounted Appliance Warehouse. You need a new refrigerator, new stove, new washer and dryer? Look no further than Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. I recommend them because they're where I purchase all of my appliances. But what I love about them is their knowledge of appliances and their service. They have an award-winning service department. They're not going to just charge you for the appliance and then sort of leave you with it. They're always there to help you out. They're always there to service it. They have a great supply, so you're not going to have to wait weeks or months to get them. When you walk into their 11,000 square foot warehouse in Pickens, you're going to be able to see about 1,500 or so appliances waiting for you. Quite often, you can buy it today, use it today. Discounted Appliance Warehouse. Find them online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. The search is on for 12 stolen puppies. Who does this? Now I get that it seems pretty apparent that they were stolen for monetary reasons. And the people they were stolen from evidently had bred these dogs with the idea of selling them. But it just breaks my heart to think about the idea that these little puppies were snatched and taken out of their home regardless. They were last seen whisked away from the home in crates by some masked men, according to the North Charleston Police Department, North Charleston, South Carolina. Henrietta Woodward told their local TV station, WCSC, that she's offering a $5,000 reward after discovering all but one of her family dogs were taken February the 13th. She said it has left her feeling hurt and in shock. She said it's shaking, adding that she and her daughter spent the night on a couch because they had trouble sleeping. I get that. North Charleston police were called to the home February 13th, spoke to a couple people who reported the break-in. They told police that a group entered the garage, possibly after kicking a back door in. They said that the police said there was no evidence that anyone tried to get into the rest of the home, so they believe the burglary was targeted towards stealing the animals. The family said the puppies have not yet been listed for sale, so very few people are aware that the dogs were even there. So they feel like it's someone who knew them and knew that the Frenchies were there. A witness reported seeing the 5 suspected burglars run from the back of the house with crates with the puppies valued at between $32,000 and $37,000. They loaded the animals in the cars and drove off. As of February 15th, the dogs had not been found. We hope that they are found quickly. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Appreciate you joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Please join my mailing list. Go to my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails. And we don't bombard you. We send a few along the way with the most up-to-date news. Also, find me on YouTube. Search for my channel there. Just go to YouTube, search for Joey Hudson. If you can't find it, send me a quick text. I'll send it to you. And keep those comments via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. It's 864-477-5639. Your emails are welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Have a wonderful weekend. We're back on Monday. Until then, just remember, God's got this. He's still in control.